Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Kathleen. Glad you can make it. Glad everybody's here. Thanks for your patience. Starting a couple minutes late. We're going to go through all of your hardest questions. So, as you got questions, send them over in the chat. But you got to go quick because Kathleen might beat you to it. She's gonna send over some good questions. All right, let me open this up. So, here's how this works. First of all, for those of you that don't know, my name is Blake Choisnet, founder of the Rental Roadmap. I started out just like any other regular Joe, working a white collar job, thinking I was doing all the right stuff, and it didn't get me anywhere, or at least didn't get me where I wanted to go. And so started investing in real estate, no expertise, no credentials, no license, no nothing. Built a multimillion-dollar portfolio in 18 months, retired in 2 years, self-made millionaire in 5. And you can do it too. And I mean that. And that's my mission, is to help people get to freedom so that they can have all the time they want to do whatever they want. I spent this morning hanging out with my boys, my 4-year-old and my 1-year-old. They're both newly minted that age as of last week. And we worked on projects, we played, we crawled around, we tickled, we wrestled. This is the first thing I'm doing today as far as work is concerned, if I can really call it work. So if that sounds like something you want to learn more about, you can go to 90day Rental Roadmap.com. I'm sending it over here in the chat. And you can check out that information. You can apply, fill out an application for us to have a conversation and set some time for us to talk if that seems like a good fit for you. Watch the material, see if it sounds like a good fit. This is the June Q&A. And so the way that this will work, if you've never been on the Q&As with us, is people in the actual Zoom call, they get first right of refusal. So they get to ask questions first, and I answer those questions first. So if you're in the Zoom call, I will answer your question as a priority. You're the number one priority. And so if you want to get in the Zoom call, you can go to blakeschoisnet.com/community, and that will point you to our community. Just go to the calendar, and it'll take care of everything else. So it'll get you in this room. All right. So with that being said, we'll hop straight into Q&A. I do have questions at blakeschoisnet.com/ask. If you can't be here, you can submit your questions at blakeschoisnet.com/ask, and I will go through those. So first priority is people on the Zoom call. Next is social questions, and then the Ask Blake responses. We've got a lot of questions today, so we're just going to go through them. And again, if you got questions, send them over in the chat, and we will get you taken care of. All right. All right, so first question is one of the more common ones that I get. It is, how much money do I really need to start investing in real estate? And the question is helpful, but the answer is pretty uncommon. It's not what you think it is. No, normally when people think, I want to start investing in real estate, you think, well, you've got to already be a millionaire. You got to already have a bunch of money. You got to have just tons of money sitting around. And that's just not the case. You don't have to have a ton of money to get started investing in real estate. First of all, there are a lot of different strategies. There are low or no money down strategies. There are low risk strategies. There are high risk strategies. There are high return strategies. So first, you've got to make sure you've got the right strategy for your goals. I've got in the community, in our 7-day fast start, I've got a training on this. I think it's day 2 that I go through this. But first, you got to start with your goals in mind. So if you want to retire off of cash flow, then wholesaling is not going to do the trick. Or being an agent isn't going to do the trick, because that's active income. You need passive income. So that you got to pick the right strategy first. Second, if you're looking for, which most of the people that I'm talking with are looking for, cash flow so that they can replace their income, so that they can either build a legacy, provide for their family, or just buy their time back. They can do whatever they want with their time, knowing that their family's safe and they can spend their time however they want. Heck, if they want to paint and they stink at painting, they can't sell painting for their life, they can still paint. That's great. If it fills their soul, awesome. But for situations like that, if you want cash flow and you want to start with low or no money out of pocket, you can do that. I think you need maybe $5,000, $5 to $10,000. And that's not even money to put into real estate. That's just confidence money. That's knowing, well, okay, I've got an EMD or I've got an inspection that I got to pay for. I know I'm going to get that back whenever I refinance out of the property, but that could be 3 months from now. So, where's that money going to come from? $5,000 to $10,000. I think that makes sense. You don't need more than that. And really, even from a credit standpoint, you don't have to have good credit. Credit is an analog for ability to manage money. It's not perfect. It's very, very imperfect. But barring outside circumstances like specific cases like divorce and stuff like that aren't money related, but does tank your credit, it's something that you want to have a decent credit score, not because it's a requirement, just because it measures how good you are managing money. It's kind of like who should you listen to as a money mentor? Should you listen to Dave Ramsey or should you listen to Robert Kiyosaki? Well, the reality is, if you're bad with money, you should listen to every single word Dave Ramsey says. Then, once you figure out how to manage money and you're a good steward of it, you manage it well, then forget everything he said and start listening to Robert Kiyosaki's direction. That's the key. That's what I want to hit on here. You don't need much money to get started investing in real estate. 5 to 10 grand will do it. Now, with that, there's also, I'm going to go a little bit out of order because someone asked a similar question. It was Daniel asking, how can I secure financing if I have marginable credit? And is it always a deal breaker? Is it a deal breaker? No, it's not. First, if you've got bad credit, can you secure financing? And then if you can, how? First, if you've got bad credit, I want to define what is bad credit. There are hard money lenders out there that will loan. They've got published as low as 540 on credit. So credit isn't as important when you go for investment properties because the funding mechanism is just different. It's not conventional loans where they care about your credit score and your DTI or your debt to income. The commercial loans, investment loans, they care about the property's performance, or what's called DSCR, debt service coverage ratio. And what it's really answering is, of the debt service we're giving you, the monthly payment, how much does the property bring in? So if it's going to be a cash flow property, that has to be at least one, right? If it's $1,000 coming in the door and you got $1,000 going out the door, that's not cash flow, but that'd be 1,000 divided by 1,000. For a cash flow property, this needs to be around 2 or greater, at least 1.75. So that means you got $2,000 coming in the door, but you're only paying $1,000 on your debt service. So that's your mortgage payment plus tax and insurance. That's about a cash flow property. Those are the numbers for a cash flow property. Now you say, well, what does a bank care about for a DSCR? They want it to be at least a 1.0, 1.1. I've seen some people lately going down to as low as 0.9, but the higher the better. A 1.1 or 1.2 is not a cash flowing property. That's a terrible property if you're oriented toward and have a goal for cash flow. So that's the first thing is you've got to be buying the right type of property with the right type of money, meaning you got to buy it with an investment loan and not something that's a conventional loan with DTI. Now, the conventional loans are fine. You get certain benefits like lower rates, better terms, but they move slow. And the documentation that you need is like you got taxes and pay stubs and a skin graft and a blood sample and a hair follicle and the right arm of your firstborn. And it's just wild. So it has its place. It's just not as valuable, in my opinion, as an investment loan. So that's the first thing is, yes, you can secure it with marginable credit, but you got to have the right loan. These lenders will loan as low as 540 on a credit score. Some of them, they have no docs. So they're called no doc loans, which means you don't have to provide them with anything. You don't have to tell them your credit score. They won't ask your credit score. Most of I'd say 50-50 for hard money lenders, when I work with them, they don't ask for my credit score at all. So they're not running my credit. They're not doing even a soft pull on my credit. So that component doesn't matter. Now, there's the underlying thing that I talked about with credit just a moment ago, which is you got to make sure you're managing money well. And if you're not managing money well, you need to pause and make sure that you can manage money well. Because if you can't be trusted to manage $1,000 well, what makes you think you could reasonably manage $5 million well? You're just not going to. It's just going to be bigger debt and bigger pain and bigger stress. So figure out how to steward small well, then scale up. And this is all a skill. This isn't like something you're born with. This is a skill that you have to learn. It's not an art, it's science. You got to figure out how to build this skill and learn this skill. So if you have bad credit, you need to find the right lender, and you need, depending on the requirements, you need no doc loans. And then the question is, well, what kind of lending could I use? You could use hard money. You could also use private money. Private money being the distinction here is a private lender is an individual with their own money. It's Joe Bob, or it's Jane, or it's Kathleen, or it's Ryan with their own money that's lending it to you. A hard money lender is an institution, and they both have their place. Hard money lending is great, but their rates are a little bit higher typically, and they move slower because they have more processes. Because as you grow, you have to have more processes. All right, they're borrowing money from some other entity, hedge funds, Wall Street, whatever. They take it in at 8%. They loan it out to you at 16, and they take the arbitrage. They take the difference. That's fine. It just takes them a little bit longer to close. With a private money lender, if it's an individual with their own money, they can say, yeah, I like that deal. I'll wire it to you in 30 minutes. They can move fast, and speed of money is important. The speed of money is one of the primary values that you bring to the table in buying below market and off market properties. That's why you can get really good deals, because you can move fast and make good decisions quickly. That's the primary responsibility for a real estate investor, is making well-informed decisions quickly. You can't just have well-informed decisions, because if they take too long, you lose out on all the properties. And you just can't make them quickly, because if they're not well-informed, you lose a ton of money. You got to do both of those things. And again, that's a skill. That's a skill to build. So those two components, a hard money lender and a private money lender, are good options. Hard money lenders, that would be a no-doc loan like I was talking about. A private money lender is just an individual that will loan to you. And if anybody out there is saying, well, who wants to be a private money lender? Private money lending is perfect for somebody that wants low volatility, like they're tired of the ups and downs of the market. They want to make more money than the market is allowing them to right now, where they've got invested. If there is a Wells Fargo in their savings account making 0.23%, they want to make more than that, but they don't want it to go up and down and around. Right? People have seen a lot of their investment accounts go crazy up and down with all this AI stuff, the chip stuff, and then the war with Iran. It's all over the place. So if you want more predictability, this is a great option. And the final thing is protection. And you get your money back quickly. So the protection is, it's an asset secured loan. One, it's asset secured by the property, and two, it's personally guaranteed by the investor. So you're getting your money back. Your worst case scenario is you take over the property. And that is a really good worst case scenario. You can't only look at the worst case scenario. You got to look at the best case scenario, but it's a really good worst case scenario. You're very, very protected. So not many people know how to find these investors. And really, once you get past 20, 50 doors, you don't really need private money lenders anymore. You're going to get great terms from Kiavi and Open Door Capital, and all of these other lenders that are lending for real estate. So you'll get preferred terms from them. So you don't need private money lenders as much. So you got to find the niche of private money lender or private money investors that want to borrow that money. These rates are, golly, I've got 6 loans out right now. I'm making anywhere from 16 to 22% on these. And it's literally one signature on the front end, wire the money, and then one signature on the back end, pay me my money. Usually getting the money back in 3 to 6 months. So those are the people that, it's somebody who's like, they got $5 million in a 401k, or they got, a lady 4 doors down from you who drives a 92 Camry and has $4 million just sitting there, and she just wants to spoil her grandkids. That's it. All right. That's who it's right for. So if you're interested in being a private lender, I do have a preferred lenders list for my students, where I give you a training on how to be a private money lender, and then I connect you with my students to fund their deals so that they are competent, they actually know what they're doing, and the deal is vetted by me. So that protects you on just the deal quality side of things. If that's something that you're interested in, let me know. That's you need to have about at least 80, but 100 or more $1,000. It usually is best for someone with between 100 and 2.5 million. And you want to make 16 to 22% on your money, have it reliquid in 3 to 6 months. So if that's something that you're interested in, send me a DM, send me a message or an email at blake@blakeschwanet.com, and we can talk and see if it's a good fit. It is a preferred list, so I don't let everybody in there. I want to do a quality check and make sure we're working with good people. I love helping good people make money, but I like helping good people make money. And so we just might not be a good fit as far as goals and priorities are concerned. So So that's on the financing side of things, Daniel. It's a good question because most people think that if they don't have perfect credit, they can't invest in real estate, and that's just not true. It's just fundamentally not true. It's not a deal breaker. So that's that question. All right, if you got questions and you're in the call, feel free to send them over. Let's see, Kathleen, Carter, anybody else that wants to send over questions, feel free to send them over. If you're thinking to yourself, man, I really want to get started in real estate or started in cash flow real estate investing, but I don't know my next steps, or I don't know what to do, or I'm scared, or I'm nervous, whatever, send over a question that you have that represents the biggest barrier between you and actually just taking action. Because honestly, one of the questions that is, I didn't think we were going to get to today, but it's how do I balance learning and taking action? Like, how do I balance knowing enough to not get in trouble investing in real estate and just jumping in and trying? It's one thing to try on something where the consequence is not very significant, right? Like, for example, at ordering a new meal at your favorite restaurant where you have your go-to. You order a meal, the worst case scenario is you don't like it and you waste $15, right? Or $20, whatever it is. But with real estate, if you do it wrong, you're up a creek. I mean, I think about my relationship with my now wife when we were dating. My entire decision-making model was, if it's hard or scary, just jump and figure it out later. It's the high dive method. So just figure it out later. Just jump off the high dive. And then if you're scared, worry about it on the way down, right? So if you're nervous calling the guy or girl that you're interested in, I just click dial and then figure it out. I put myself in a time crunch. The challenge is whenever I got to deciding whether or not I was going to marry Brittany, that's a terrible decision-making model. Like, it breaks my decision-making model because I don't think it's wise or discerning to just say, well, it seems scary or it's nerve-wracking or I'm not sure. Let's just try it. That's just not, it's a one and done thing for me. It's we'll be together forever. And so it broke my decision-making model. And so for somebody who is asking, do I want to get into real estate? Yes, I do, but I don't want to lose all my money. How do I balance learning without actually taking action? Well, most people have learned enough to start taking action. They're just scared. And action is what differentiates those that are successful with those that are not. So if you've been thinking about potentially doing something for 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years, and you're not taking action, now is a decision point. It needs to be, I want to create a wedge for you. You have two options. One is you continue on your own path and you don't do anything, in which case you should give up on real estate. You should never invest in real estate. Just give up on it, let it ride into the sunset and give up on it. Take it off of your decision-making power sitting on your brain, sitting on your thoughts. Leave it off and let it ride into the ether. Or if you do want to do something and you say now is the time to do it, or now's as good a time as any, you got to do something. Take the next step. All right, just take the next step. Make an offer on a property. Analyze 100. Most people are even analyzing enough deals. You just got to make an offer on a property. And if you don't know how to make an offer, or you want the underlying skills taught to you so that you can fast track things, go to 90dayrentalroadmap.com and we can talk about whether or not we're a good fit to work together. We've got people crushing it. In fact, Justin Robbins just closed on his, where is he? He hit, I think, 9 doors in 3.5 months. And then Lonnie, they're kind of in competition. Lonnie is closing on his 8th door, and he's been in the program just over 2 months. And those guys didn't have any experience before. In fact, I want to say that a couple of Lonnie's were turnkeys, but Justin's no money out of pocket. He just refinanced one, and he's walking away with $20-something thousand. It's crazy. And so even in today's market, especially in today's market, actually, there are great deals out there. I can't tell you the amount of students that are saying, there are so many deals out there, I can't keep up. How many deals should I take down at a time? How many deals should I close on at a time? Because I want to continue to manage my own lifestyle and not go crazy with chaos and details and taking time away from my family. Because everything that you do, you're sacrificing something that you don't do. Whether it's time with your family, it's work, whatever it is, you're saying, what if you commit time to something, you're choosing that over something else. So choose what's important to you. And so these people, they didn't have any experience going into it, and they're crushing it. So if that's something that you're interested in, that's one way that you could take action, but it doesn't have to be that. It can be anything, but just pick something, make a goal, and actually do it. And it needs to be this week, not this month. It needs to be this week. So balancing learning with action, usually if you're at that point, you're already ready to take action. There's your first phase is the awareness phase, and this happens with anything that you're considering spending your time on. It's awareness, and then there's the execution phase. Most people they think they're still in the awareness phase when really they're in the execution phase. They're just scared and they need to do something. So the success favors those who act. You might think of the person that you would qualify as the luckiest person in your life. They're just lucky. Things just happen to fall their way. They take action. The thing that qualifies those that are lucky, or you think just always seem to have success, is they take action. They actually do something. So that's what I'd say is my biggest encouragement, direction, exhortation to you would be just do something. Act on it. Do something. Because, what's the worst thing that can happen? Well, if you're doing it right, you do enough due diligence, the worst thing that can happen is the numbers going in for your best case, your worst case, and your most likely scenario, and you hit your worst case. In which case, what those numbers are. You've put numbers to them. That's our whole due diligence methodology is based on putting numbers to best case, worst case, and most likely case, and then deciding is my worst case and the probability that will happen worth the trade-off of my best case. And if your worst case is you got to leave $2,000 in the deal and it cash flows $400 a month and you made $40,000 of equity, that's a really good worst case scenario. And those types of deals are all over the place. So that's what I would say about how to get, how to balance the learning with taking action. All right, Carter, any particular cities or I guess Kathleen, you put money in here. Is that asking where can I raise money? How do I get money? Or that's my primary barrier? Give me some context there, and I'll give you some direction. Carter, any particular cities or states you're staying away from right now? Carter, I think that the answer or the question should actually be, are there any particular cities or states that you are leaning toward or you're seeing really good deals from right now? Because it's easy to just say, don't invest there, don't invest there, don't invest there. But when it comes to action, you have to choose, yes, invest there. Easy to say, like, I'm not investing in California, New York. Are you crazy? Like those places, Illinois, those are places that you don't want to invest. It's easy to say, I'm not investing there because their policies are crazy, or I know that they're expensive, or I know that the taxes are going to kill me, or the landlord friendliness is horrible. Easy to say no, right? But how do you actually pick a market? And I'll tell you in just a second where I'm seeing great deals coming out of. But the way that you pick a market is you got to pick a market that fits your goals. So if you want cash flow, you got to go out and just find a market that cash flows. Make it easy on yourself. Don't make it harder on yourself. It's already hard enough. Just hit the easy button. There are people out there with half as much skill and intelligence as you, but they're just doing it. Right? They're just taking action, and they picked the right place. They put themselves in a position where they're just surrounded by great deals. Right. So an example, I mentioned I got two boys, 4 and 1, and they're both growing out all their clothes. If my wife said, hey, go get the boys some new outfits, and I went to Home Depot just because it's closer to our house, I could be the world's greatest dad. I'm not coming home with anything helpful. Your intention doesn't matter. It's your execution that matters. Because the opposite's also true. If I was the worst dad ever and I just happened to stumble into Target or Walmart, I would actually come home with something helpful. So it's not your intention that matters, it's your execution that matters. So as far as picking a market, you got to pick a cash flow market. And there's probably 50 cash flow markets out there. Markets where you can buy a house for $90,000 or $100,000. It's a 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,600 square foot house. And it rents for $1,500 a month. Crazy. And if you need something that's not 20% down, you need something that'll burr, There are properties out there that you can be all in $80 to $120,000, borrow that money from somebody, and then it'll appraise at 140 to 180, easy. And those are all over the place. So you have to find out where those markets are, because I call it my money pot method. Just find out where all the money is and go hang out there. Swim around in all the money. What it does, it protects you, because now you have so many deals that are good quality deals that you're not stretching on deals that have obvious red flags, because you're saying that you're operating from a place of scarcity and you're saying, oh, this is the best deal I've seen in a while. Yeah, I know it. Technically it sucks, but it's the best one I've seen in a while. Well, yeah, you're going to end up investing in something that was a bad decision just because you're scarce. But if you pick the right market, everything gets easier. Literally everything gets easier, because you can stumble into good deals. You find a market whose average rent to price ratio, or the median rent to price ratio for the entire market, is 1%. You're going to be running into, you're not going to take things that are below median. You're going to take the good ones. So 1.2, 1.3, 1.5% rent to price ratio. We just had a student find a deal is over 2% rent to price. That's crazy. That means that if the house is a $100,000 purchase, he's renting it out for $2,000 a month. Mortgage on a $100,000 property is $550 a month, $2,000 a month. There's a lot of margin in there. So those types of deals are all over the place. And if you think that they're not, it's not because you're right. It's because you don't have the skill built. That's all that it is. It's just a skill. Right now, we're working with my 4-year-old on saying, on being polite and respectful, saying yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. Is that an art? Like, does he need to be born with that? No, it's a skill to be built. And so what we've done is we've got a scoreboard up, and every time he says yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir, we put a sticker up. And after 20 of them, he gets ice cream. All right, he's 2 away right now. He's killing it this morning, and he's just jacked about it. But it's just a skill to build. So is investing in real estate. So you got to find the right market. So practical tip number 1: a lot of people will just talk about, a lot of people in this space will just say, like, this is what you got to do, but they don't tell you how. I like to operate in the trenches. So here's exactly what to do. Go find markets that are less than 250,000 people and more than 50,000 people. 98%, 99% of cash flow markets fall within that range. The median home price needs to be less than $200,000. You can find this is all public data. Then, now that you have the median home price, I want you to go find the median 3-bed rent. All right, and then you're going to take the median 3-bed rent, put it on top, divide it by the median home price. All right, that number needs to be above 1%. Now, if it's above 0.8, you could continue on with analysis, but it needs to be, the rent to price ratio for the entire market needs to be above 1%. After that, if it passes that first test, you need to look at economic indicators, the job market, is population going up, home prices, all of that stuff. And just make sure there's not multiple red flags. If population's dipped here and there, that's fine. If job growth has dipped here and there, that's fine. It's not that big a deal, as long as it's not cratering, right? It's not Detroiting, as you might say. Then the final piece is go and actually look at 30 to 40 properties that are rental grade and do a rent to price ratio analysis. Put a rent to price ratio together, throw out your outliers, and get an average of what that rent to price ratio is. That has to be above 1%. There are markets out there that are 1.2, 1.3, 1.5% rent to price ratio. Just great deals all over the place. As far as deals, like places that I'm seeing great deals coming from right now, best market that I'm seeing is Birmingham, Alabama. That's number 1. Montgomery as well. Deal flow is lower in Montgomery. So most of what I'm seeing is people focusing on Birmingham and maybe taking some from Montgomery. Next is Akron, Ohio. Akron, Ohio is also 30 to 45 minutes outside of Cleveland. Lots of investors in Cleveland, but there's also a lot more competition in Cleveland. So that's why Akron is really great. The numbers are incredible. They're great numbers. And your team, your local team, will also likely help you in Cleveland if you find a great deal in Cleveland. Dayton, Ohio is another really good one. Jackson, Mississippi is another good one. Macon, Georgia is another good one. Lawton, Oklahoma is another good one. Those are great markets for investing in cash flow properties. I would put them in that order as well. So hopefully that's helpful for you, Carter, on the market side of things. All right, we're halfway through, 30 minutes through. Awesome, Carter. If you've got any markets in mind and you want to send them over and get my opinion on, I'm happy to give you my input and direction. The one thing that I would say is it needs to not be on any bad landlord's list ever. All right, so scour ChatGPT, AI will help you on this front. Look for 5 different good, bad landlord lists. Most of the time, the way that they publish them is like the 5 best and the 5 worst. Your state needs to not be on any of those for the worst. Doesn't matter if it's on the best, doesn't matter if it's in the middle and it's never mentioned, but it cannot be on the worst, ever. Where are we get? Stan's asking, where are we getting the most current information for great rental markets in the Southeast market by demand and average rents? Birmingham, I just see heavy renovation deals. Yeah, okay, so a few things. Most current information, when we're talking about data, you have a few different options. AI makes this a lot easier now, but you have a few different options. You can use census data. Census data is going to be the most consistent and the most accurate. It's not terribly up to date because we only do the census so often. You can also use any .gov data. And it just depends on, you just want to check and make sure that it's reasonably recent. Anything before 2020, just throw it out the window. So you've got that, it's just less polished and you got to go through the numbers yourself. Other tools are really helpful for this. They're more polished, but what I'm seeing lately is their data update frequency is lacking, in my opinion. So bestplaces.net, I love the way that they present the information. Citydata.io is another datausa.io, citydata.org, I think. I'd put them in that order. So bestplaces.net, datausa.io. Their UI is awesome, but their data is it seems to be very old. Bestplaces.net, I like them the best, but lately I'd say over the last 6, maybe 12 months, I haven't been as thrilled with their data. So, but what I will say is data accuracy, the data being explicitly right versus relatively right is different. We want it to be relatively right. So we want it to be correct relative to the next market, right? So when we're comparing 2 markets and we're saying which one's best, which one should I invest in, we just want to know, is market A better than market B or vice versa? Right? Because all of this will, if you're using the same data sources, it'll come out in the wash. If you mix up data sources, then yeah, things go crazy. So if you're concerned about this, what I would say is you could even find 5 different data sources, keep it the same data sources for every single one, take those 5 data sources, and then take the median, whichever the median number is there, just the middle number. That will simplify things for you. But again, these numbers don't have to be perfect. As far as renovation deals, in fact, average rents, if you want the average rent for a 3-bed, bestplaces.net is helpful. There's also some government websites that are helpful, but you can go check out the fair market rent for HUD vouchers. In fact, let me just, this will be my gift to you guys. No. FMR HUD values. I'm going to send you this list of where you can look up the all of the HUD values. Boom. This is my gift to you guys. In fact, let me just share my screen real quick, and I'll show you this. So this is HUD, Housing and Urban Development Committee, or Section 8, some people might refer to it as. The FMR means fair market rent. So the with HUD, when you hear HUD and Section 8, think of them as the same thing. Section 8 is the piece of legislation that says that the federal and state government can pay for somebody's living expenses. The Housing and Urban Development Committee is the way that happens. It's how they walk it out. So you got HUD as a big umbrella, and then they decide this is how much money is going to certain areas based on economic output, costs, et cetera. And then that rolls down to local housing authorities, and they manage all the way down to zip codes and different neighborhoods. So if you're looking for a very specific area, in fact, let's go to Alabama, and Birmingham is in Jefferson County, if I'm correct. Yeah. Next screen. And it's going to tell you what you'll get by bedroom. So this could be a 4-bedroom, 54 bath. You don't get any more money for that amount of bath. Now, Birmingham, they list it out by zip code. Some cities will just say, in this city, here's the number. That's it. All right. So if you're looking for how much you can get for a 3-bedroom house, I would take all of this, and I'd probably I'd check the average and the median, but I'd probably take the median, because things like this is clearly in a nice area. It's just it costs literally twice as much as somebody in a different zip code. But this is accurate, up to date. This is like government information.gov. This is government information right here. And they're saying this is how much it costs. This is how much their voucher will be. Now, if you're using that resource that I just sent you for specifically for rental comps, or what you think you can get for a property, if you go in there and you say, all right, that says it's going to be $1,840 for a 3-bedroom house in zip code 35043. Now I can put that in my deal analysis as $1,840, exactly what I can get for this property. Not always the case. It varies by market, 50-50 shot that some of that will be held back for utilities, between $100 and $150. So check with your property manager, check with someone that's an expert there. As far as, Stan, your comment on Birmingham seeing heavy renovation deals, there are heavy renovation deals there. If you're looking at cash flow properties, generally speaking, the entry price is going to be lower. The rental values are going to be low. You're not going to be renting to, A-class tenants. You're choosing cash flow over appreciation. Not that you're giving up on appreciation, but it's not as big a priority, because you got to put these things in priority: cash flow versus appreciation. In an A-class neighborhood, you're not going to get any cash flow, but you're going to get great appreciation. B-class neighborhood, you're going to get probably not very much cash flow. It's probably going to be a little bit less negative, but you're going to get pretty decent appreciation. C-class neighborhood, you're going to get decent cash flow, not as great appreciation. And a D-class neighborhood is going to be great on cash flow and not great on appreciation. All right, so you just got to make your decision there. As far as deals that are heavy renovation deals, that is only finding deals that are heavy renovation deals is a function of where your deals are coming from. So if you're only looking on, in fact, send this over to me, Stan. Where are you sourcing your deals? If you're only looking at Zillow or the MLS or even Investor Lift, you're probably going to only find heavier deals. Wholesalers, okay. So what I would say is volume is your friend. So the higher, this is a kind of a supply and demand thing. The higher quality wholesaler or tool that you're using, the more visibility there is. So the MLS, you can find some good deals there. You can't find great ones. You can't find awesome ones. But I mean, since 2020, there are more distressed deals on the MLS than there used to be, by orders of magnitude higher. But you just got to know that the beauty of the MLS is everybody can see it. Everybody has access to it. And that's also its downfall, in that it's going to be more expensive because everybody has access to it. Same with large wholesalers like New Western, or even large wholesaling tools like Investor Lift. It allows wholesalers to market their stuff so that more people see it, which means more competition. So the best deals are going to come from small and medium-sized wholesalers. People that, and the way that you can tell whether they're small or medium is usually their EMD size. $2,500 or up is usually a more experienced wholesaler. If they don't have an EMD or $500 or $1,000, they're probably a small or medium-sized wholesaler that is just starting out within the last couple of years. Because wholesalers, there's completely different breeds. If you say, "Hey, I'm a banker," or you say, "Oh, I'm a teacher," or whatever, like those people in that role are pretty much the same. Wholesalers, not the case. There are some people that wholesale that their full-time job is wholesaling. They work for a large organization and their goal is to close 10 deals a month. Then you've got another guy who's literally just doing this so he can maybe make another $5,000 or $10,000 for his family a year, just one deal a year. So the larger ones are going to have more expensive deals. The smaller ones are going to have better margin, but way lower volume. So you got to pick your poison. I think with the smaller, medium wholesalers, let's say each of those only get 2 deals a year. You're not going to close both of them. Maybe you got a 10% chance, finger to the wind, who knows, which means you need a lot more wholesalers. So you got to go find wholesalers. You need 40 to 50 active wholesalers to have the deal volume that you need to be able to close on things consistently, 1 or 2 deals every 90 days. And that means, and that will give you the volume of small and medium-sized wholesalers where you get better deals. This is assuming you're not going direct to seller. If you do want to go direct to seller, that's fine. You just need a marketing, it's a discrete skill. You need a marketing budget. You need at least $500 a month for marketing. You need a sales script. You've got to be focused on that, but you get better margins, right? You got to know how to pull a list. You got to optimize for the right list, and then you got to hit the right people in the right way, and then you got to close them. So I'm happy to let wholesalers do that, and I love paying wholesaler fees. All right. So if you're a wholesaler watching this and you got deals in Birmingham or Akron or Macon or Montgomery or Indianapolis or Jackson, Mississippi or Abilene, Texas or Wichita Falls, Texas, Lawton, Oklahoma, like any of those, send them over to me. deals@blakechoisnet.com. Send them over to me. If it doesn't work for me, I send them out to my students. We send hundreds of deals to students every single week. So send them over. We can make some money. We love paying assignment fees because you do what we don't want to do. I don't want to knock on deals. I don't want to do our direct to seller. I don't want to, all that stuff. So that's assuming that you're not doing direct to seller. Then the question is like, cold call. Nobody wants to cold call, which is why they get paid. All right. Great. Awesome. And some people say like, oh, why would you wholesale? You can make so much money doing it the other way. Like, well, yeah. Why do you buy groceries from the grocery store? It could be so much cheaper if you just grew it yourself. All right. It's the exact same thing. I don't want to spend my time doing that. So yeah, that's the higher volume of wholesalers will really serve you. Another pro tip you might do, Stan, since you've got some doors, is talk to a couple of wholesalers and say, look, if you are looking at closing a deal, you're trying to close somebody, and you need to go into that conversation, or it would help you go into that conversation to know what you could close it for. Send it over to me. I'll run my numbers and I'll give you a number, so that then you can go into the seller and say, hey, you're giving up price because you want to move quickly with less headache. We can close in 7 days. I have a buyer already. He said this is what he'd pay. And they're, of course, going to subtract out if you say I'll pay 55, they're going to say, he said he'd pay 60 so that they can make $5,000. Right. And we can close in 7 days. Sound good? That's way more compelling. So I do that with a couple of wholesalers. Ideally, the ones that, I'd say the ones that you've already worked with, they're going to prioritize you a little bit more. So I might talk with them. But finding your wholesalers, you got to get 40 to 50. So that's the next part, which is how do I find more wholesalers? Like, how do I get more deals? You either have a money problem or a deal problem. If you're not growing at the rate that you want to grow, you either have a money problem, I don't have enough money or access to enough capital, or I don't have access to the right deals. Sometimes it's both, but one of those is usually the biggest pain point. So if it is deals and you don't know where to find them, you need more wholesalers. And if it's money and you don't know where to find it, you got to raise more money. All right. So what I'd say here is on the wholesale side of things, the wholesaling side of things, find more wholesalers. The way to do that, the best way to do that is use water cooler areas, right? Like Facebook groups is great. And there's 2 ways to do this. One is search for groups that are specific to your market. So properties for sale in Abilene, Texas, or Birmingham, Oklahoma, Alabama. Search for ones that are specific to that. So properties for sale, wholesale deals, real estate investor communities, whatever. Others, another way to do it is to search for real estate wholesale groups, and then search for posts that have been posted in your market. right? So either cities, you can use the search icon, look for zip codes or cities, or the city that you're targeting and the surrounding areas, and then contact that wholesaler. Message them, say, hey, I'm looking for this type of property. Here's my buy box. Add me to your list. What's your email and your phone number? That way, you can then store that information, follow up with them consistently. In the market-specific groups, this is easier because you can even just scroll through the posts, and you can tell, especially with your experience, you can tell who's a wholesaler and who's not. You could also use the search tool and search for assignment of contract, or flip, or rehab, or investor special, things like that, terms that a wholesaler would use, and then message those people. Always, anytime you message somebody on Facebook that you're not friends with, of course, friend them, but comment on a post and say, just DM'd you, and then message them, because it will make sure that the message is actually seen instead of going into the message requests into the ether. But that's just the first part. You got to find those wholesalers. Then you got to document their information, store their information. Then you got to follow up with them consistently. So find the wholesalers. I think that's the hardest part, but it's not even that hard. But where people most fail is not finding the wholesalers. It's not storing their information and following up with them. So when you store their information, you need to store it in your Rolodex. This is something as simple as a Google Sheet. Store it in the Rolodex, name, organization if they got it, email, phone, and then a link to chat wherever you started your conversation. Most of the time, this is Facebook Messenger, maybe it's Instagram, Reddit even, Craigslist, wherever your primary chat is or their primary channel for communication is, and then any other information that you might have on them, if they got a website or whatever. Then put that information into a CRM. This doesn't need to happen if this is your first deal. You don't need a CRM or anything like that. But if you do want to automate this process, you can use MailChimp or other tools like that, ConvertKit, on a free plan. And you just put all their emails in and then put in a sequence. Every 2 weeks, send them an email. Don't do text because you're going to have to pay for SMS fees, but send them an email every 2 weeks. Hey, you got any deals I should consider? And just follow up with them. If you don't want to go to that effort and optimize like that, just set time on your calendar for 30 minutes every 2 weeks and blast out an email. Take all the emails, put them in BCC, in the subject line, all lowercase, because it looks less formal, looks less polished, which means it looks more personal, and say, got any deals? And then in the body, just say, hey, you got any deals? Any deals under contract I should consider? Thanks, Stan. And then for those that do respond, if they say yes, great, analyze the deal. If they say no, reply and say thanks. You know anybody that does. All right. And see if they'll connect you with somebody else. If you have to offer them, say like, I'll pay you a $500 referral fee for any deal, for anybody that you connect me to that a deal comes from. All right. Like if you say, oh yeah, I know Bob over here and he's got a deal. Great. If I close on that deal, I'll give you $500. Awesome. Easy money for them. So they're either going to respond and say yes or no, or they're not going to respond, in which case 2 days later, go in, reply all, remove all the people from BCC that did reply, and then just say, hey, didn't see anything from you. You got any deals? That easy. It's that easy. So consistently follow up with them, because what you want is the wholesaler, when they get under contract on a deal, you want them to think of your name. You want them to be like, oh, golly, this guy is just hounding me. I mean, Stan is just always on. I mean, he must be buying tons of properties. Kathleen is always messaging me. Carter's always talking to me about, okay, I got to send him a deal, all right? Because they're clearly ready to buy. That's what you want to do there. Boom. Yeah. Flipping mobile homes too, cool. If anybody's got trash trailers on its own land at a good price point in the Southeast, they'll buy it. All right, that's his information. Or you can go to Stan at homelifestylesrei.com. Email him there. If you've got mobile homes that you want to sell, Stan, send over in the comments. Are you own the mobile homes, the land, or both? There's really 3 ways of doing that. There's owning the mobile home and having it on a lot, and you just renting the mobile home, and then they pay the lot fee. Or you could do all in and you pay the lot fee. Or it's owning the lot and then somebody else brings their mobile home, or it's both. yeah, I want to create an AI agent to scrape for those keywords. That's totally doable. Now, if you're scraping for those keywords, you got to give them direction on where to scrape. So I would go out and find a list of probably Facebook groups. The hard part is having AI scrape Facebook groups or social media platforms. They've built out, all these platforms have built out automated scraping protections, and so it's got to be more human. One of the best tools, I'm just getting into this, one of the best tools that I've seen on this side of things is Victor, Viktor AI, Victor AI. It has a browser feature. It's a true agent. So it has a browser feature where it can log into your Facebook, and then it can go to these groups and it can search for these deals. It can even message for you, and you pay by credit, but you can get I got 40,000 credits just by hooking up, linking. Like, it gives you certain credits just to start out with, and I bet those 40,000 credits would last you a few months. And then after that, it's I don't know, $30 a month or something like that. But there's a lot of potential there using tools like that. Let me send you a link here. Here, I'll send you this. Put this over here. I should have my own referral link, but instead I'll send you the one from the guy that sent it to me, so at least he gets paid. It integrates with Slack, so it's really built for. Boom. We've only got 7 minutes left, so if anybody else has questions, send them over in the chat. But it integrates with Slack, so it's really built for organizations that are communicating and collaborating via Slack, or I think Microsoft Teams. They have some functions. Yeah, it works with Microsoft Teams, where then Victor will have access to all of that information. Like, I've integrated it with any of my Zoom calls and stuff like that. It automatically does summaries. If I say, hey, Stan, I'll send you this thing, it will automatically draft up that email after. It'll have your email in the subject line, and and then it'll say, hey, this is ready to send. You just review it and send it. Or it'll send it for me if I let it. But it can do unbelievable amounts of stuff. It acts as, essentially an employee for you that you would normally have to pay $250,000 a year to do what it does. But you could do that for a total of a few $1,000s a year instead. So it takes a little bit of ramp up time. You got to integrate it with Slack and then kind of learn and train it. But that's I will say, with AI, there's really two components to consider. One is the maturity of the technology, and two is the tool itself. So if you're looking for very specific things to do, the maturity of the technology is continuing to grow. It's not what it has promised to be. I mean, it is my opinion, but it's not what it has promised to be, that it's going to change the world. It's made people more effective, but AI is not going to replace your job. Someone who knows AI is going to replace you, and they know how to use it. They know how to wield it as a tool. But I don't know, it doesn't appear that we're anywhere near sentient, right? Like, I mean, ChatGPT was just, OpenAI was just given a hard time because somebody did a test with the voice mode and said, hey, I'm going to go run a quick lap. All right, time me, ready, go. And then they came back right away, 2 seconds later, said, all right, I'm done. How long did that take? And it said, oh, you did 8 minutes and 56 seconds, because they said I'm running a mile or something like that. They didn't actually time it. And something that simple, so there's the maturity of the technology, but that's been growing pretty quickly. Then there's the tool itself. And there's a lot of tools out there just because, they're kind of easy to, they're easy to build. It's easy to build a basic tool. It's hard. It's very difficult to build a very refined and sophisticated tool with AI. And especially with AI being a buzzword, you see on, lead magnet posts and stuff like that on LinkedIn, Twitter, or X, I guess, where someone's like, oh, we've got this new AI tool that will do solve all your problems here. And it just doesn't. It's somebody that They spent 3 or 4 minutes on ChatGPT or Claude or whatever, or Gemini, and then they said that this is an AI tool, but it hallucinates all the time. It's not trained well. It's not reliable. And the challenge is, especially, if you're going to use it for deal analysis, or if you're going to use it for running comps or anything like that, that information's got to be really good. It can't be crappy, because you're the one that has to pay for it, right? If it hallucinates and says like, oh, yeah, it's going to be worth $140,000, and then it's wrong, and your number is actually $90,000, you're coming out of pocket that money. You're the one that has to pay for that. So, yeah. So now I will say, Slack's free. You don't have to have a paid plan. You just start. Heck, you can start your own community. Home lifestyle REI on Slack, and just use it there and just chat back and forth. I have it in my community, but I've actually turned it off for anybody else in there using that tool. And I just have it as a kind of a Q&A thing for me. I'm building out some different AI tools for running comps and things like that, but they need to be refined. So that's a tool, or something like that. I'm sure there's other tools out there that will run in the background and actually be agentic and do what you're saying it will do. But it can't just be like a Python script anymore. You can't just run a Python script and point it at a specific website, because the back end, they built in those protections. And the mechanism that they use to do that is, if you're searching 200 websites or 200 different Facebook groups over the course of 30 seconds, you're a robot. All right, like Stan, Blake, Kathleen, Carter, we're not doing it that fast. All right, so some of these bots will do it. They do it with a human pacing, so that it doesn't trigger those things, essentially. So you can let it into your Facebook, you can let it into your LinkedIn, all of those things, and you'll have, if it has two-factor authentication, you've got to actually give them two-factor authentication, let them in, and then boom, they're done. They're ready to go. So hopefully that's helpful. Awesome. Yeah, if you've got some cool apps that are helpful for people, and hey, if you want to share them in the community, go for it. I don't know if that'll help you monetize anything. I'm guessing the types of tools is probably not like a referral or affiliate thing, but that's great. Obviously, the purpose of the community isn't to help people monetize or help people sell and whatnot. In fact, that has gotten harder and harder to essentially weed out the bots. But awesome, Kathleen. Thanks for joining. Blake at blakeswanay.com. We'll talk soon. But yeah, so if you got some apps that'll help people, feel free to post them, send them over. With that, we're at the top of the hour. All right, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. I'm glad you guys could join. For those of you that are watching this later and you weren't able to join the actual call live, and you want to know when the next one is, we do this once a month. Go to blakeswanay.com. That's Blake, CHOISNET.com/community. Join our community. We've got a calendar there, and you'll see when this is. You can, subscribe to that calendar, add it to your calendar so you remember. You'll also get reminders. I'll give you a 24-hour heads up, a 1-hour heads up. That way, when it's coming, and you can ask questions. If you got a job that won't let you step away for a lunch break or something like that to actually be on the call, you can go to blakeswanay.com/ask. Just submit your questions there, and I will follow up with you. Like I'll answer it here, and I'll make sure that you get an answer to your question, so that you can make progress. But again, you gotta take action. And so if you're just waiting around and you're learning, if you've been listening to podcasts and reading books and stuff like that for 6 months, a year, like you just got to act. You got to take action. So, and if you need some encouragement or some, get up and go, ask some people in the community that have some experience, some questions like, what would you do if you were me? Connect with them and say, hey, send them a DM. Would you give me 30 minutes of your time to figure out, like, I'm just scared of taking the next step. Can you give me some, 30 minutes of your time just to learn? And, I'll help you with whatever, work for somebody for free, work for another investor for free, help them find deals, help them find wholesalers, do whatever for them so that you can make progress. But if you got questions or you want to talk about how to work with me, work with the Rental Roadmap, go to 90dayrentalroadmap.com. That's 90dayrentalroadmap.com, or email me at blake@blakeswanay.com. That's Blake at Blake, CHOISNET.com. Other than that, happy investing. Talk to you guys soon.